is one member of Parliament for Tamale Central. Alhaji, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning. How are you? Really good.
We are fine. We hope you are well too.
Well, I'm in Pandai. I'm in Pandai presently.
Oh, campaigning?
Campaigning.
Okay, I'll come back to that. But before that, help us address this. When an independent MP gets to Parliament and he is the only one, what happens? Is he compelled to choose which side to be on?
So by our configuration of Parliament, Parliament recognizes only two groups of MPs, the majority and the minority. You can go as caucuses, two caucuses, majority caucus and minority caucus. Now, if you get to Parliament as an independent member of Parliament, there is no caucus like independent members caucus. So you have to choose to do business with either the majority or the minority. I say choose to do business because that is the language that is being used. But you elect to sit with the minority or with the majority. That's how Parliament is configured.
You elect to sit with the minority or the majority?
Yes.
Okay. But you said there's majority caucus and minority caucus. So it means by the time you get to Parliament, there should be clarity on who is majority caucus and minority caucus.
The standing orders even defines who is majority caucus and who is minority caucus. The majority caucus is composed of the largest group of members of Parliament from the same party or a group of parties that form the government. The largest group of members of Parliament who form the party, who form government. So it could be from one party or from parties which form the largest, which form government. So our constitution, our standing orders was already forward-looking in the sense that it already envisaged that political parties could come to Parliament, not have the majority of seats in Parliament, but form a coalition and then form government. So that's why it says from a party or parties.
That's interesting. From a coalition to form government, we don't have the UK system.
Yeah, we don't have the UK system, but we have multi-party democracy. Yeah. So if parties run elections and then the majority, for instance, like what is happening now, if we had many parties in Parliament and then MPP haven't lost their majority, then enters into an agreement with another party in Parliament, and the party decides to sit with them in Parliament to do business, to do the business of government, that party will be part of the party forming government, and that will take that party with the highest number of members of Parliament to be the majority side.
So, for example, if the independent was a PNC member and the PNC party had agreed to form a coalition with the MPP, there would have been a majority caucus.
There would have been a majority caucus. And then the constitution would not have the effect of Article 97, 1G and H would not have affected them because Article 97.2 accepts that relationship from the ambit of Article 97.1 H and G and H.
So, and I guess that explains why the Speaker calls them a majority group, not a majority caucus.
Well, that terminology, I'm not. This is a terminology of the eighth Parliament, and I was not a member of that eighth Parliament, so I'm not able to understand the reasoning behind the majority group and minority group, because when I was in Parliament, that terminology was not there.
Is Alhaji suggesting that if he was there, he would have questioned the Speaker on that?
Well, I'm saying that I don't know the rationale. I don't know the reasoning behind that. So I can't question. I don't know. But what I was simply saying is that when I was in Parliament, there was no majority group. There was no minority group. We had a majority caucus and a minority caucus. I concede that with all the years I was in Parliament, there was a distinct majority and a distinct minority. This is not true with the 8th Parliament. And so that's why a new terminology has emerged.
And Alhaji, that's why we are all taken aback by Honorable Afenyo Mackenz's insistence on being called majority leader. Because of the terminology majority group, that gave him the majority, because he had no clear majority when he walked into Parliament. Does that surprise you too?
Honorable Afenyo Mackenzie is blinded by the arrogance of power. Because immediately the Speaker pronounced that the seats of the 4 members of Parliament had been declared vacant. That operated to change the dynamics in Parliament immediately. So you could no longer be holding on to majority leader when you didn't have. And mind you that the majority caucus is defined. The party or parties with the highest numerical strength in Parliament. So it's defined. So if you don't have the highest numerical strength in Parliament, how do you then say that you are the leader? And the majority leader is the leader designated by the party or party with the highest numerical majority in Parliament. Okay? So if you are not the highest numerical majority in Parliament, how do you then say that you are a majority leader? It's not by designation. It's by arithmetic calculation. Okay? And if you lose that position because you are no longer have the highest number of members of Parliament, how do you insist that you will call a majority leader? It's not a designation or a term of act.
I see. So, are you suggesting that if this 4-seat vacancy had stood,
they are still standing. Have they reversed it?
So this will be the first time we'll have a majority caucus in Parliament, and in this Parliament.
A majority caucus?
Yes, because the NDC would have had 136 seats, as against the MPP's 135.
Yeah, so that is the second leg of the argument. Now, the standing order defines the majority as a party with the highest numerical strength in Parliament forming government. So that's the majority. So you see the standing order is confusion too. The NDC
forming government.
But they will have the highest numerical strength in Parliament.
No. Do you say the key word is form? There's a word. There's a phrase forming government in there.
In the definition.
So which means that an opposition party cannot be majority caucus, even if they have the numbers.
If you look at the definition, strictly sensu. Because the party with the highest numerical strength in Parliament forming government. That's how the majority caucus is defined. That's how the majority leader is defined. A person designated by the party or parties with the highest numerical strength in Parliament forming government. That's how the definition is. And so when you have that definition, it creates its own problem. Now, in this 8th Parliament, especially consequent upon the ruling of the Speaker, the MPP and the Independent are no longer the party with the highest numerical strength in Parliament forming government. They are no longer. So what happens? It is my view that the Constitution is silent on it, and probably tolerance of a situation where the leader of government business might not necessarily be a majority leader.
I see. So there's a need to look at it. Now that we've been confronted with this kind of situation,
yes,
you agree that there's a need to re-look at the definitions and this nomenclature?
I agree. Because there's clearly a description that will not fit strictly sensu our situation. We have, if you are looking at the arithmetic representation of members of Parliament vis-a-vis political parties, the party with the highest numerical strength in Parliament presently is the NDC. But NDC is not forming government. So the standing orders definition will not be in sync with what the reality in Parliament now.
Wow, that's quite interesting. So, but let me go back to the matter of the independent. Can an independent decide that me, I'm not, I will sit with them, but I'm not doing business. I am on my own. I can choose where to belong at any time.
The 1992 Constitution did not anticipate that. And the standing orders of Parliament did not anticipate that. So that's why we don't have independent, the caucus of an independent member, or independent member or members. We don't have it in Parliament.
But that does not undermine his independent status from the very beginning of Parliament.
There are many people. Samira Nkrumah had argued that, well, she was going to be independent. She went to Parliament. She came to Parliament as an independent member of Parliament. She wanted to be recognized as an independent member of Parliament. The Speaker said, yes, granted, well, we'll recognize you as an independent member of Parliament, but you have to choose to sit with one side of the Parliament to do business. Because of her position, if you watch where Samira Baumia was sitting,
Samia Nkrumah. Samia Nkrumah.
Samia Nkrumah. Oh, yes. Sorry, Samia Nkrumah was sitting. You will see that she was sitting almost in the middle of the Parliament, but she had to do business with one side of the House.
So which means attend their caucus meetings among others.
And vote with them.
I see. Alhaji, let me then ask you, because your leader this morning, in fact yesterday, he said the best solution to whatever is happening in Parliament is political, not to go to the Supreme Court. Do you agree?
101%. 101%. Why will you go to the Supreme Court for an interpretation? This is a political question. It's a political question. Simplicity. Even Afonso Makin knows that it's a political question. It's not a legal question.
How do we address that? How do you think? Who and who seeks to address it?
Because it's a political question, that's why you need consensus. That's why you need engagement. That's why you need negotiation. That is why you need building of bridges. That is why you need backdoor channels to see how do we get out of this constitutional liberum. You don't go to court for the court to tell you what to do politically. How do you go to an unelected group of people to determine how elected group of people must behave?
Be that as it may, the Supreme Court will make a decision today. There are those who say, no matter what the Supreme Court says, it will define how Parliament works when it comes to this in the years to come. Do you agree?
Yeah. So the Supreme Court will put because we again as people, we've decided that when there is a conflict in the interpretation of a constitutional provision, it is the Supreme Court and only the Supreme Court. That is why it is given original exclusive jurisdiction in the interpretation of the Constitution. So no other court, no other person has original exclusive jurisdiction to interpret the Constitution except the Supreme Court. So when it interprets the Constitution, we are bound to follow the interpretation. So whatever interpretation that will be placed on it will seal the meaning of Article 97(1)(g) and H.
Since you're in Pandai, NDC holds that seat, right?
Oh, yeah. We are going to win.
Or you retain it?
Well, we are going to retain it.
That's in the northern region, right?
Yes, that's in the northern region, yeah.
How many seats can you win in the northern region?
To be honest with you, my honest view is that we are targeting all the seats.
All seats?
All the seats.
Every seat?
And we are working on all the constituencies.
Okay. But it's not. But realistic, when you do an assessment, is it every seat you can win?
Every seat is winnable. It just depends on the strategy, the effort, the investment.
strategy, effort, investment. Today is 12th November. Alhaji, you've been around the constituencies. Can your party win all the seats?
Our party can win at least 14 of the 18 seats.
14 out of 18. Last time we were able to do 9.
Yes. And we realized why, we now understand why we were able to do 9. Because we had somehow falsely assumed that the party was a Tamale party. We assumed that Northern region was Tamale. And so all of us were operated in Tamale. For the first time in our history, we are going. This is the second round of our travels across the Northern region. We have touched every constituency in the Northern region, and we are going to continue until the 7th, when the deed is done. And when you go to those constituencies, when you meet the people in the rural areas, when you go to them in their hamlets, in their villages, in their communities, they show appreciation. And they now understand the face of the party.
Interesting suggestion that you falsely assumed that the Northern region was Tamale.
Yes. So you find you won the 4 seats. So the 4 seats. And so every activity was happening in Tamale. And we somehow defaulted in representing the party in the other rural areas and constituencies. But this time we are not. I mean, and when you go to those communities, when you go to the constituencies outside Tamale, in the Nantong, in the Saboba, in the Tatale, in the Zabzugo, and even Zabzugo, not in the towns, in their communities, you can see the surprise and acknowledgement on the faces of the people. You see it. So we sometimes blame ourselves for having created the situation where we had to share 9-9. In fact, we went to a community in the Woodlandsea constituency yesterday, and somebody, an old man, said, if people do not understand the party, it is because we have not explained the party to them. Because for the Northern region, our party is the NDC. Because there is no meaningful investment in the Northern region that has not been brought by the NDC.
No meaningful development.
No meaningful development. That has not been initiated by the NDC.
I see. The words you use are still striking. Surprise and acknowledgement.
Yeah.
For a region that was said in the past to be the stronghold of the NDC, that people are surprised and acknowledge your presence.
Yes. So because we said that the world were the IMF of the NDC, we simply, and I blame no one. I blame myself as well. Because for all the 15 years I was member of parliament, my activities were largely confined to the Tamale area. And so, but for the first time, I've thought more communities, not only me. Alhaji Inusah, Dr. Nashiru, Dr. Yakubu, Dr. We are many, including people who have never held positions in the party, who are just businessmen, who think that to whom much is given, much is expected. I mean, including paying students. But in fact, because of the delay in the opening of the universities, elected to come and join us to campaign. You know? So,
Alhaji, I don't have to let you go because you're campaigning. This is Alexander Fenyomakin responding to why he will not become my minority leader. He says, spiritually, it is not good for me to sit on a minority seat.
Okay.
Alhaji, did you hear that?
I didn't hear that, yes.
No, he says, spiritually, it is not good for me to sit on the minority seat. That's Afenyomakins.
It's not good for him?
Spiritually.
Spiritually?
To sit on the minority seats.
Spiritually?
Yes.
Oh, then he should go to church. Let him go. Which church does he attend? He should go and bring the catechists to come and clean the seat. Because that's where he belongs.
Alhaji, thank you for speaking to us.
Thank you.
Alhaji Inusah Fuseini says he should go and bring the catechists to come and clean the seats. Well, what an